Hi, hello, moin moin and welcome. My name is Lisa, my pronouns are she, her, and you are watching Linguistic Stitches, a Flosstube channel, a channel about cross stitch. Today is a Flosstube Extra. This is a flip through of one of my newest acquisitions, the Haandarbejdets Fremme Årets Korssting cross stitch calendar from 2011. This one is not as vintage as most of my cross stitch calendars are, but I wanted to show it to you nonetheless. The theme of that year's cross stitch calendar is decorations from the Copenhagen City Hall, which is very intriguing to me. The designer is Müller, and yeah, let's get started, because this is a bit of a special calendar. It does include a few different information, yeah, than the other ones. So let me get a bit of general information. Haandarbejdets Fremme is a Danish handcraft association. They used to call themselves a handcraft guild. In these calendars now it only says association. I don't know why. They are in fact a very, very established cross-stitch association or handcraft guild from Denmark, and among other things they have been publishing these cross-stitch calendars every year since 1960, and every year there's a different designer or a different topic or what have you. So, and for 2011 that's Müller, and she picked, according to the preface, decorations from Copenhagen City Hall. So let's get started. I have to say there are pictures included from the decorations that inspired the cross-stitch patterns, but they're very tiny and I don't know why. I tried to find better pictures of the tiles that have inspired the patterns online, but I was not able to find them with a cursory search, right? I did not spend hours and hours looking for those decorations. I'm not sure, maybe it's to inspire y'all to go to Copenhagen and have a look at City Hall. I have to admit, I've been to Copenhagen, but I have not been inside City Hall. So I've not seen these decorations with my own eyes. They are mostly floral, but a few of them are, to me, look more like algae, which is more intriguing to me. So let's get started. This is the first page, the first monthly page. On the one hand side, you have the calendar for the whole month, and then on this, on the side, on the page facing the calendar, you have the inspiration and information about the pattern. See, this is a picture of the original decoration from City Hall. And then you have the artist rendering, and in the preface, Müller writes that she kept her designs very close to the original, so I guess that is what the tile actually looks like if you zoom out, or at least mostly. You can see there are a few differences, like here, the swirl, and yep, that's this swirl. It's not as swirly, you know. But one of the fun things about this calendar is it does not just give you the original picture and the inspiration and then the pattern, but it also does a few different things. This calendar, more so than the others that I have, really tries to inspire you to make the pattern your own. It shows you what taking apart just one little small part of the pattern would look like on a curtain, or on a table runner, or as a hat for a hyacinth. Hyacinth cap, not a hat, sorry. Yeah. And how to take like small motifs and to tile them. And also for every month they suggest a different specialty stitch to use, and not just the cross stitch. So they're trying to, not that it sounds very pushy, they're trying to get you to do that, but they are trying to inspire you to make the pattern your own in different ways, to use the stitches that you'd like and to take just a small part of the whole pattern and to make that your own. So this month's specialty stitch is backstitching. You can see there's a backstitch outline and then the background has been filled in with small back stitches. So then on the next page we get the pattern and then the whole pattern stitched up. The patterns are all approximately 100 by 100 stitches, and they call for Danish flower threads, which is a brand of thread that is, I don't know if it's manufactured, but it's sold by Haandarbejdets Fremme, and you can get that at least all over Europe, no problem. So that is the first flower tree here. We're going to February. So that is a similar style. It's also kind of like a flower tree, but the flowers are very different. Here's the 5-petal flower that inspired this pattern. And for February, you are inspired to use stem stitch to do a bit of like needle painting to stitch the flowers. The other suggestions are to put the whole pattern on like a tea cozy, or a bag with a border of flowers, or to stitch a table runner with a bunch of flowers, or to make them bigger or smaller. Very fun. And this is what the pattern looks like stitched up in just plain old boring cross stitch. Very pretty. For March we have more flower trees. This one with dainty pink ones. The original seems to be with blue flowers. Yeah, and this time they suggest using the little flower motifs to decorate different types of objects. For example, a placemat or a small bag. They also show you how to tile the flowers into bigger motifs. And the suggested specialty stitch for the month of March is petit point. All right, and here's what the whole thing looks like stitched up. Very spring-like. For April, we have now another flower tree, but with a bit more exotic looking flower buds. Yeah. Here's the original. And for this month, Lisbeth Müller, who was very inspired by the wavy, swirly shapes of the branches. So she suggests using them to on a piece of linen and to use like pulled thread work. Pulled thread work and chain stitch to emulate those swirly bits, and two different ways to tile those swirly bits into bigger motifs, and and she also takes different motifs from the bigger pattern to make a triptych, and we will see this triptych stitched up later in the book. And here they are kind of outlandish, those suggestions. To stitch the flowers here, or the swirly bits, on a hat cushion. I don't want greasy hats to lay on my cross stitch, but well, you do you. It would be very nice. I guess it is difficult to come up with 12 plus different household items to decorate with your cross stitching. This is what the whole thing looks like stitched up, and there's cross stitch and also back stitching here in the background. Sorry, there's a fly who would like to get in on the flip through action. I really like this one. This is my favorite, I think, of the flower tree motifs. So for March, this looks like little, no, it's not rosebuds, but tiny little buds. So here's the original decorative element from City Hall, very dainty. And here's what Lisbeth Müller takes from that. And she suggests using those swirly bits to make bigger motifs out of that are like, I'm sorry, the fly totally threw me off. All right, so yeah, to make like a forest. Yeah, it can be used for a border or spread out on a surface. That would be a border, that would be for filling in a surface. And the suggested specialty stitch is couching. Yeah, the suggested idea is especially suitable for outline embroidery, but the outline can be of varying width. Yeah, the idea used for a plaid is what it says here, like a throw blanket, or a, if you use the border, you could use that as a cover for a bread basket, maybe. So, the bread basket was using that border down here and not the swirly bits. The other motifs were based on the swirly bits here. Yeah, this is very pretty. Not really my style, but pretty. For June, we have a bit more leafy work. This one has bigger leaves. Here you can see the original decoration from City Hall. This is mostly leaves, but if you zoom out, you get this very cute tile, the bigger flowers, and the specialty stitch is backstitch again, but in a different way than what we have seen before in January. This is for stitching the leaves and the ribs of the leaves. Yeah, the contour of such a leaf can be embroidered with backstitch, for instance, the ribs with freehand embroidery. Is what she is suggesting here. And again, to combine the leaf motifs in different variations, and to maybe stitch them on a shirt. Oh no, it's not a shirt, it's a dish towel, or a wrap-on skirt with a border. That would look very nice. Yeah, that would look very cool, very cute. Okay, what does the whole thing look like stitched up? Like this. This is also very pretty, I think. I like that the branches are purple. The color composition is very nice in this one. I like the splash of orange in the border here. So now in the middle of the calendar, we have photo shoots, glamour shots of different variations of those patterns. And what I think is a bit frustrating is that Lisbeth Müller keeps teasing us with those little pictures of the alternates here, but you never see a whole motif stitched up with them. And there is some of that in the in like the centerfold here, but it's mostly the cross stitch versions and not the specialty stitch versions, which is kind of sad, but also it's a huge amount of work that would go into that. So here's the tea cozy, which does look pretty nice, but I don't really need a tea cozy. Maybe it's a cozy for like your bread rolls or something. I don't need that either. Maybe I eat too fast. This is just one of the motifs in a nice frame. Here we have one of the patterns for the later months in the book that's mirrored, and I think that's very pretty. I would totally buy that. And here we have one of the motifs in two variations on pillows. And this is the whole motif, and this is just the flower and some leaves picked from there, also on a pillow case, which both look very nice. Oh yeah, here's the triptych I was talking to you about earlier. I think that's very interesting. Like, it looks very artsy, of course. Yeah, very interesting. And then we have a flat fold situation, I think, yeah, with a wooden board and a hanger. This is another instance of the whole pattern being stitched up. And there we have part of the motif on curtains. mirrored in a way that it looks like nice if you have two curtains hanging next to each other. That's very nice, I think. And then here's the cover photo again. That is one of the patterns stitched up as a whole on a bag of some kind. Oh yeah, there's 2, 4 more. Yeah, they give you a lot of inspiration like this. Okay, this I think is very pretty. We've not seen this pattern before, I think. No, we've not. Here it is stitched up on a purse. I think that's very intriguing. That is a very nice way to FFO your cross stitching. That's a very nice bag. And here we see the blue flower motif repeated several times to fill in the space on a table runner with the border added. That's also very nice. Here's one of the patterns we have not seen before, finished as the cover of a book. And here is another one as a panel of a beach bag. All right, so that was the center portion of the calendar. Now we are back to the calendar portion of the calendar. This is July. Another flower tree. Here's the original, well, a pic of the original. Here's the bigger motif. And here is the part of the motif that the designer is playing around with. This month's specialty stitch is the Holbein stitch. Yeah, and it looks very cool. Gives it a very nice texture. Yeah, you can see the ideas for combining the flowers. And the suggestions for the different FFOs are to stitch different parts of the motif onto pillows or the top of a box. This is what the whole thing looks like. I think it's very cute that there's 2 different types of flowers here. I like those ones. They look very Carolyn Manning to me for some reason. And I like the border. For August, we are staying with the flowers. Here's the original, and here's the artist rendering, which is again more red toned than the original seems to have been. And this time there's different things going on here. Lisbeth Müller took part of the leaves to play around with, and the specialty stitch this time is a combination of full cross stitches and half stitches. You can, let me see if you can see that somewhere. Yeah, I think the brown in the for the tree is stitched in half stitches, while the leaves are stitched in full crosses. Yeah. And again, tiling the flowers and suggestions for stitching parts of the motif onto a table runner, or what's that? A bed sheet, a bedspread is what it says here. Yeah. And this is what the whole pattern looks like stitched up, and which is a bit of a surprise because look at this, all of the leaves and the wooden parts of this design are outlined in backstitch, but with like one square in between, so to say, right? It's not direct outlining, but with a bit of give between the stitch leaf and the outline. And I like the border on this. Yeah, it makes the whole thing quite dynamic in a way. Now we're getting to the good part, the parts that look like algae and lichen. Yeah, so this is September. This is the original decoration. This is the artist rendering, and this is the portion that we're going to play around with. The suggested specialty stitch is petit point once again. And here you can see that the background is all filled in with petit point. So we are tiling the algae leaves either in a row or as like kind of a star. You could stitch this on, oh, it says kettle holders. I'm not sure that is a idiomatic translation. Pot holders is what they are supposed to be, which is very intriguing to me. I would like to have them as like, I like the image of the cross-stitched pot holders, but I don't think I would like actually using them as pot holders. Maybe they could be decorative pot holders, who knows. Yeah, here they are on a round tablecloth with a composition. Or a footstool with a different type of composition in more like the cross layout. All right, what does the whole thing look like stitched up? This is what it looks like. I really like that. I like the combination of the colors. The bluish gray and the pops of orange all throughout that, and the purple in the border. Oh, there's two different purples in the border. I don't know if you can see that. For October, there's more algae, and this time here is the a picture of the original decoration in City Hall, which, and that's the artist rendering, and this time it seems to be original is in more of a red tone, and the artist rendering is more of a cool tone blue or grayish color. And I find it very intriguing that she picked just this part of the motif, which is not like the whole leaf or not all of the fruits, but just a seemingly random assortment of pieces from the pattern. And then she played around with that. And that is this time long arm cross stitch, knots and back stitch is what it says. Yeah, you can see a few knots in here in purple. Yeah, and if you look very closely, you can see that in here the cross stitches have more of a braided look, and that is the long arm cross stitch. Long arm cross stitch is when you stitch over 2 squares in one direction and over 4 stitches in the other direction, so you don't have a cross with two legs that look the same, but they're all like elongated, and you can do them in a horizontal way or a vertical way to get that very interesting effect. Yeah. All right. So, and the suggestion is to stitch the whole pattern twice on a blouse, which I think would look pretty cool, or to use it as a door stopper. And here's different ways of combining different parts of the motif. Yeah, as a border, as 2 different borders, or as like a motif for a pot holder or something. And this is what the whole thing looks like stitched up. I really like the algae part. I'm not too big a fan of the border. I think the colors clash a bit, and I don't like the form, like the ease here. I think this is too different for me from the rest of the patterns, but I really like the colors in the top part. For November, we're getting a bit spooky. I think this does look a bit spooky, right? Okay, so this is the original, again, more reddish colors, and the artist rendering in more bluish grayish colors. And she took those 2 alien heads and made them her own, and combined them for in the round or as a border. And the specialty stitch of the month is outline stitch, satin stitch, and seed filling. Right? See, there's a backstitch border. The alien's eyes are filled in satin stitch, and the background is stitched in seed stitches. Yeah, the contour of the background or the motif can be embroidered. Yeah. No need to stitch inside the outlines. You can as well stitch on the outside of the outline, so that you can still see the motif in like the Assisi style, where you stitch everything but the motif. Okay, so what are our suggestions for FFOing? A small bag for a mobile phone with a pattern here. That looks very trendy. Or a roller blind with pattern. I don't think I've seen stitchable roller blinds before. that would be interesting and a bit difficult, because it's not like, it would be very difficult to get this two-sided. I don't know, but it's a very intriguing idea nonetheless. Let me know if you try that. This is what it looks like stitched up. Still think it's very spooky. Looks like ghosts or aliens or something. Okay, last one. We're getting to December. This one is quite uncharacteristically, I have to say, not Christmassy at all. We have another algae lichen tree thingy. This is the original in rather reddish colors, and the artist rendering in bluish grayish colors. And this is the part of the pattern that she has picked up to play around with. I don't know actually where that is in the pattern. Let me have a look. Oh, I see. Okay. So this is very interesting. She did not take like a whole motif, but this is like up here, just the border and one of those eyes in the branches, you know what I mean? Those eyes, and uses that as a starting point. Yeah, to make a few different border motifs. They are different types of suggestive, let's say. All right, here's an idea to stitch the whole thing on a bag, or just the borders on a hat or a scarf. And this is what the whole thing looks like stitched up. I like the composition. I like the border on this one. It's very interesting how the borders always seem to clash. I don't know if that is the case on the original tiles in the City Hall, because we did not see those parts in the pictures, but I guess that those are actually pretty true to the original, like that there's a bunch of tiles with those flower trees or those algae trees, but I'm not sure if the borders are part of the original decorations in City Hall, or if those are a product of Lisbeth Rommuller's imagination, which is very cool. I think it's very interesting how they clash, and sometimes it works better and sometimes not so good for me. But I do like this one. The colors are the same as up top, which is not the case in all of the patterns, as you've seen. Okay, so we're at the back of the calendar, and the last pages are the color keys for all of the for every month. That's the way they always do the layout. They put all of the color keys at the back. And like I said, this is all charted in Danish flower threads, and it is all charted in cross stitches and a few back stitches. And January also has some types of knots, but they don't even tell you which knot. Just you choose if you want to do French knot or a colonial knot or what have you. Yeah, and then there's it's a French knot. Yeah. So here's beginner's instructions for doing cross stitching, back stitching, and French knots. And then a bit of information in the back matter about Haandarbejdets Fremme, and that was that. So I hope you enjoy this little journey through the Årets Korssting cross stitch calendar from 2011, and I hope to film more of these sometime soon.